Blizzard just released the first big patch of Season 1. It came with some density buffs. It also came with some class tuning changes. And I've been playing this Chain Lightning build currently at hardcore level 94. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So I just wanted to share the build with you guys and just go over how my character's set up. So anyway, here they're Sorceress. We're just going to go over the gear real quick. We'll go over playstyle. We'll go over our specialization that we're running. We'll do alternate setups. We'll go over the Paragon Board and all that good stuff over there. So the bread and butter of this build right here is Chain Lightning. And then the important aspects that you want are right here. This recharging aspect is absolutely amazing and just pretty much ensure that you got max mana all the time. Each time Chain Lightning bounces, you gain additional mana. And then you also have your Chain Lightning aspect here. Chain Lightning has a 40% chance to chain 4 additional times. I'm running the one-handed offhand setup. You can also run a two-hander for the build, but I prefer the one-handed offhand setup just for additional cooldown reduction. That is essentially the bread and butter of the build. Chain Lightning aspect, and then also getting your mana back. And then you have a bunch of complementary stuff, but that's really all you need. So let's just run it from the top to the bottom. So first thing, we got our helmet. Pretty standard. It's just a defensive helmet, everlasting aspect. You take less damage from crowd controlled or vulnerable enemies. We have a couple forms of vulnerability in this build. First off, we get it from our Frost Nova, and then we also get it from our specialization, which I haven't even gone over yet, which is Frozen Orb, and so we got multiple applications of vulnerability, so it's pretty much always up. You take less damage from crowd controlled or vulnerable enemies. Then just the stat you on your helmet is armor, life, crowd control, duration, and then cooldown reduction. The crowd control duration, though, if you need additional attributes to meet your requirements for your Paragon board, you could also roll that attribute here. So whatever attribute you're missing for basically your requirements for your Paragon board, you can roll that instead. Your chest piece, I'm currently just using the defensive chest piece over here. You're running disobedient aspect, more armor, and then just pure damage reduction, total armor, just flat damage reduction, life, damage reduction from burning, damage reduction from distance, damage reduction from close. And then you have your alternate setup, which would make you more squishy, but it's also really nice, which is the raiment. The Raiment of the Infinite, this unique item, so you might not get it right away, but you can just use like a normal legendary chest. I actually prefer the legendary chest over the Raiment, because I just like the additional survivability. But this provides good utility because when you teleport, it sucks the enemies in and then it stuns them, which will proc some additional damage bonuses. The Raimundo of the Infinite. Everyone loves Raiment. I hate Raiment. I don't like it. A lot of people like gawk over this thing and say it's like the best thing ever. I don't even like it. You actually don't need that node. After the update, you don't need the static surge node. And then yeah, another thing that's nice about the Raiment is it stuns, but you also have additional forms of stun like via your lightning sphere and your shock abilities, but if you're expecting the static surge node early on, it can give you more mana, but you shouldn't really have mana problems with this build at all. For your gloves, either stats you want, just Chain Lightning. You want lightning critical hit damage. I don't have that yet, so I'm just running all stat, attack speed, and crit chance. The crit chance is humanly possible. Your aspect on this is Frozen Orb. This is because one of your enchantments is Frozen Orb. The reason why you're running Frozen Orb enchantment is for a couple reasons. Frozen Orb enchantment will first off, it applies chill. In addition, that also applies vulnerability. So it applies some conditional stuff that helps your character's damage quite a bit. Your pants, just pure damage reduction. The implicit that you prefer on your pants is while injured or potion will give you a shield. And then you just want all damage reduction, damage from distance, damage from close, damage from burning, normal damage reduction, armor, life, any of those. And then the aspect you want is a brand new one. It's called Veer's Mastery. You actually have two different setups you can run, but I'm personally running the Veer setup and I like it a lot more for hardcore. It's a lot more comfy. I can just face tank stuff. And then you notice what do you socket in all of your gear here? You just put rubies in. Now we have our boots here. Our boots, you pretty much just want movement speed and ideally +4 to Frost Nova, Flame Shield, and Teleport. You don't have to have +4 to Flame Shield technically. You can run mana cost reduction early on. That helps quite a bit with the spamming your Chain Lightning. And then you just want like additional evade charges or reset evade charges when you attack. And then your aspect is gain more movement speed while teleporting, which just helps you be more efficient while farming. And then your second option for like higher nightmare dungeons is this. You want to use the exploiter's aspect. You have 20% increased crowd control duration. And while enemies are unstoppable, you just get 40% more damage to them. And then we have our one-handed weapon. I actually want a dagger. I don't want a wand, but this is the best thing I've found so far at level 94. So We're using a wand, but hopefully get a dagger for the implicit close damage multiplier. You just want lightning, critical hit damage on it, critical hit damage, vulnerability, and then you got like core skill damage, or you got like intellect, or like damage to close as like your final stat there. You can have all attributes if it helps you get some Paragon node requirements. And then your aspect, you need this chain lightning, have the 40% chance to chain additional times. Now on your amulet over here, you just want an ancestral amulet. You want max cooldown reduction, you want movement speed to just help your farming, +3 defense. And then your aspect, I currently have barrier on, increased damage while barrier, which is really good. Some other things you want to be looking for on your amulet is also Devouring Blaze, which is a huge multiplier for your build too. You could have Devouring Blaze also, but currently I haven't found that perfect amulet yet. So in place of crowd control duration, I would want Devouring Blaze. And then the Wrathful Heart that you just want Tal Rasha's. And basically how it works, you'll see right here, it says you get like a 11.5% damage multiplier for every element that you deal. Sorcs have 3 elements. You have your cold, you have your lightning, you have your fire, right? That you all apply via this build. So it'll stack 3 times. But also the Barber Heart, which we're going to be using, this is considered shadow damage. If you get a max roll, you get 12 times 4, 48% more for the duration. And then the other aspects that you could use on your amulet, you could also use accelerating, right, for the increased attack speed, which is pretty nice. And then you can also use the Elementalist aspect, where core mastery skills cast at or above 100 mana will get an additional critical strike chance. But you need to get a little bit plus mana from somewhere to have over 100, right? Because you have 100 base, and then you have like 103. I got the +3 from my passive tree. And then for your rings, you basically just want a life roll, you want vulnerability, crit damage on it, crit chance. Your Wrathful Heart is a barber, be that shadow damage, so you get an extra stack of Tal Rasha's. And then your aspect that you want on it is control. Then on this ring here, I just got pure damage. I didn't enroll a life roll. And then you want the recharging band for the additional mana gain when you're using your chain lightning, and you'll basically just have like perma max mana. And then your heart that you have, this is purely just for the damage reduction. So you just want a revenge heart and try to get 20%. I haven't found a 20% one on this guy, so I'm running 19.5. Another heart that you could use though, like let's say if you want to drop the Tal Rasha damage, I actually have another one right here. It's a spell breaking one. They just changed this. After you take any elemental damage, you gain 40% damage reduction. And it's not just elemental damage, just 40% damage reduction. So it's very, very defensive, but you're losing some damage. And then for your offhand, I prefer the one-handed offhand setup. I just want cooldown reduction, mana cost reduction, crit, and then I would prefer like all stats are in on it, but I got lucky hit chance right now. And then for your aspect, you deal increased damage to vulnerable enemies while you have barrier, which will pretty much always have barrier active. So that is the gear setup there. We'll talk about basically the setup real quick and how the character plays. There'd also be a D4 planner down below that you can just follow if you don't want to like look at this. So you just need to put like 2 points of the prereq in here. Doesn't really matter. You can put like 1 point there, 1 point there. The reason why you need the point of Firebolt is the Firebolt is one of your specializations. So you have to have a point allocated in it to gain the benefit of it. So Firebolt, basically direct damage, will apply burn that procs your damage bonuses, your damage reduction, stuff like that, all your conditional stuff. You need a point in Firebolt, 2 points there. And then you want to max out Chain Lightning. You want to put maybe this is your main damage dealer. Increase crit chance per bounce, and then also just Crackling Lightning. This will give you more mana, which I'll talk about down below because it'll help early on when you're getting your Crackling energies. You'll get mana whenever you pick them up. And then you want your Frozen Orb. Your Frozen Orb will cast automatically, even though as you see it's not on my bar, it's one of our enchantments. It'll cast automatically when we're casting our Chain Lightning. This chills, first off, and then second off, it also applies vulnerability. So outside of our Frost Nova, this is also another form of vulnerability. You have Devastation here, 1 point, and then Elemental Dominance. I got 2 points in there. I can put 1 more point in. Just keeping it 2 out of 3 right now. You can do 3 out of 3 though. You just shift some points around. That's basically your setup right there for your core. Now for your next setup, this is the 1 point wonder elemental attunement. You just have a chance to reset your defensive skills. 1 point in flame shield, movement speed while active, and flame shield will heal you. So when you reactivate it, it just heals you. Flame shield really, really nice because it makes you totally immune to damage. It's also like unstoppable, so you can just stand in bad stuff intentionally. You can take like 1 billion damage and then you just don't get damage at all. Really strong. You also have teleport. This is Well, basically your movement ability also gives you unstoppable break if you get CC'd, and damage reduction. Teleport cooldown is decreased by 0.5 seconds per enemy hit, so you just teleport in enemies. You also get damage reduction there also. And then you have your Frost Nova. This is going to basically CC enemies. And then it's also going to be your form of vulnerability. Well, one of your forms of vulnerability. And then we do 3 rings of glass cannon just for more damage. More damage, good. And how does Frozen Orb proc? So Frozen Orb procs is because you have your enchantments, right? So your enchantments you assign. A lot of people run Flame Shield. But for this, we're using Firebolt and we're using Frozen Orb. Whenever we cast a non-basic skill, you have a 30% chance to launch a Frozen Orb. And since we're always casting Chain Lightning, you'll just see Frozen Orbs going off all the time. Now down here, the reason why we're putting a Pointed Lightning Spear, first off, it goes like off screen, it'll just randomly kill stuff. In addition, it stuns enemies. So early on, you can spec in a Paragon Board, it'll give you mana. It also just procs like some CC related stuff. And then mobs that are stunned, they can't attack you either, so that's a huge plus. The 1 Pointed Lightning Spear. Then you'll do 1 Pointed Lightning Elements for a little pre-rack. Using a cooldown grants you barriers, so you kind of just like alternate your defensive skills to always ensure that you have your barrier up. And then you want Mana Shield, because you're spending mana, you're also going to get additional damage reduction there. Now to the next node, this is just 1 point in Inner Flames, and then Devouring Blades is your big one. Huge damage multiplier, increased critical damage, and if they're mobilized, it increase to 30%. Down here, 1 point in Static Discharge, critical strike with Shock Seal to have a chance to form Crackling Lightning. And then whenever you absorb Crackling Lightning, you get mana. If you have high mana, that's good, right? Because you'll just be able to cast your Chain Lightning nonstop. So this will ensure you always got mana. Now on this node right over here, Permafrost is a pre-rec, and then you deal increased damage to chilled enemies, and 18 times increased damage multiplicative to frozen enemies, right? So the reason we remember we were talking about before, chilled important, that's where we're getting our chill from, and we're also getting a vulnerability, so you see that synergy there with the Hoarfrost. And then Unstable Current, this is our big cooldown. It'll just like cast some other spells, and it does a bunch of big damage. Right here, enemies just deal less damage, right? So you just have 1 point there, less damage. You also put some points in Conduction if you want to move quicker. Just like shift some stuff around, like remove some damage if you want, and put it in there. And then you can also put 1 point in Convulsions also. And then for my passive, I'm actually using Veers, so I just play like very, very close. It also gives you a bunch of additional damage reduction, so you're just jumping in and stuff. And then your other alternative passive, Overflow and Energies. I played both of them. I just personally prefer Veers for solo and hardcore gameplay. It felt a lot safer. My health doesn't get chunked at all. No near-death experiences all the way up to like, what, level 95 right now. And it felt very safe. It also had a really nice synergy with the new aspect they added yesterday. Even more damage reduction. So you just got like 5 damage reduction pants. And then we'll have like the full Paragon board on the D4 planner. But I'll just go over it real quick. The full pathing is there. I'm almost done with it. But I got a Flame Feeder here. Just increased damage because they're always going to be burning enemies. Little end requirement. I actually unspec these now if I wanted to. I don't need any more of the end requirement. I'll just use it for one of the requirements for another node. I actually gained like 2 points there. On physical damage, you go up here, the Burning Instinct board, and you just put your Destruction Glyph here, more critical damage. And you just want to make sure you get your threshold requirements. The important thing about the glyphs, you want to get them at least level 15 so the affected area gets bigger, so it's easier to meet your requirements within the radius. And then when you get up to your second board, if you don't know how to do it, in order to apply the boards, you have them all by default. You just click the gateway, and then you just put them on there, and then you rotate them. So that's how you do apply the new boards. Next board is over here, and this is where I'm putting Reinforce for more damage reduction. Just because of hardcore, and then in the area we're also buffing the rare node right here, and this rare node 46% cold damage bonus. This is actually interchangeable, so you don't actually have to use like Reinforce here. There's a few other things that you could use. You could use like Tactician, which will just give you more damage, which is pretty big. And then instead of meeting the willpower requirements, you'll just put your dex nodes there, right? So like you see the little dex points. They'll just shift out of these willpower nodes, and you'll put those dex nodes there. So you can do that if you want some more damage. Then I go up to this node right here. This is where I have my Elementalist, and it affects this non-physical node. You also put Elementalist here down to your starting area, be either the non-physical node here. That'll boost also. I'm just trying to meet my requirements, so I get my additional bonuses there. Your next board's over here. This is the Static Surge board. When you're going up here, initially, if you're having mana problems, you could actually just spec over here. And then when you use if you're using like Raiment, right? Or whenever you use your Lightning Sphere and it's done stuff, it'll give you that mana. It'll just fill up that mana, and it'll constantly be happening. And up here, this is where I have my Vulnerability Glyph. And then my current last board, I have a territorial node. I could also throw in this right here, which is control. It's just additional damage reduction. They buffed up to 15. And then I have one more board that's on the D4 planner, and that's where I'll put control. And there's also a crit node there. So that's basically the entire Paragon board for the build. Let's talk about basically your rotation for the build. If you even want to call it a rotation, right? It doesn't really have like a rotation. You kind of just like, you slam your head against your character and you do big damage. Okay, so basically how do you play the build? Pretty simple. You're gonna engage the targets, right? You wanna like Frost Nova them, CC them. The activate vulnerability, other damage bonuses. You can also teleport in to get damage reduction. Also have your CC break. If you have Raymond, also it's going to drag them together. And then you basically just cast your chain lightning. You also just like kind of cast lightning spear as you run into packs because it's just going to stun them. And then if you need a little more damage, you pop your unstable current. This is your ultimate. And then if you ever want to face tank something, or if you get affected by a CC effect, you literally just press Flame Shield because it just makes you immune to all damage. We'll just be doing this done real quick. There's just like some mobs here, right? You see, and then you just cast your chain lightning. You see there's a bunch of crackling energies on the ground. They give you like infinite mana. Everything's CC'd because we stun them. Right, there's this thing here. I pop my flame shield. I literally take no damage. That's basically it. That is how you play this Sorcerer build. It's very tanky. It has high survivability, has high damage. And that's basically the entire playstyle there. And I'm just gonna pop that and I just hold my little button down. Chain lightning and everything just dies. Right, and okay, there's the spawn again. I just stay here, I press my Frost Nova, DC it again. You see when I cast that little spear, it's gonna run into those mobs. I just stun them all. I just jump on them and I just kill them. Oh, the Malignant monster. What is that? Hey, that's not a barber. We'll just wait for this guy to spawn here. We'll frost zone him. We just attack him. He just dies. Pick up the heart. Okay, here, the last little construct, they just stand in it, cast, and it dies. And if you're wondering how I'm killing stuff pretty quickly, it's because of the Barber. So the Barber, Malignant Heart, you know, it says it basically crits and damage is absorbed, and then after a certain time, 2 to 4 seconds, it detonates on enemies around it. If you pretty much kill the enemy, right, like so every enemy had like a certain amount of health, right? If you hit that threshold, it just blows up automatically. There's not a time associated to it. So that's how like things are like blowing up so quickly, is because you essentially kill the enemy so the mob detonates and then cascades outwards. And then you can see on my bar also, I'll have like the 4 Talrasha stacks. See, there's my 4 Talrasha stack because we get the extra stack from the Barber Heart. We get one of the stacks from Firebolt. We get one of the stacks from Chain Lightning. We get one of them from Frozen Orb. That's auto casting. That's how we get all of our elements. And now we'll just go kill a boss real quick. Here's the boss. We just walk in and we just attack him a little bit. And he dies. But anyways, that's pretty much it for the Chain Lightning build. If you have any questions, you just come to the stream and ask. There's the D4 planner down below that I'll constantly keep updated as I make changes and stuff. So you don't have to like click a new one, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the build. I don't know what to do when you say bye. Bye.